I found myself in a hard-off and couldn't help but notice this little jewel case among the junk CDs. On the front was what appeared to be an idol singing into a microphone, and on the back, gravure images too hot for YouTube. You know me by now. As soon as something like this comes up, I gotta see what it's about. It's like it was put there just for me. Anything that's even idol adjacent, if I think I have an angle, I'm gonna cover it somehow. For this DVD, I had no idea what to expect. Its runtime is stated to be only 35 minutes, but it looked as if it might be some kind of idol parody. Seeing the front and back juxtaposed, I could only get flashbacks to RCT787, which, well, let's just say that made it more enticing for me. Released in 2003 by AG Publishing, Nude Voice ended up being extremely intriguing. There are a number of interesting aspects about it, but I think the main one is that this isn't really a full-on gravure DVD, nor is it just a promotional video. What usually happens is, upon the release of an art book by a model, they usually couple the book with a supplemental DVD. It's not always the case, but it does happen. The video is a brief recap of all the different settings and moments where each of the scenes in the book are captured, followed by a short interview section. How do I know this? Well, I think A. Kawanoa is a really good model. Anyway, this video in particular is immediately interesting because of the quality of the video itself. It may be a few years newer than the previous gravure DVDs from the 90s that I looked at, but the video quality here is much lower, even lower quality than the video in the Lingerie Royale DVD. My guess is that they shot this video on tape and then converted it to a digital format for editing and subsequent release on DVD. As a result, the footage in here contains some really interesting shots aesthetically, and I can't help but to feel transported back into the world of early 2000s home video. There's something really nostalgic about the look of the video that really helps capture the unique look of Japan from that time. Ogura Alice is the star of this video, and she is no less interesting than the video quality itself. Maybe I've gotten lucky with the types of gravure I end up picking up because the models have all had different interesting personalities that make them stand out from the others, and Ogura Alice is probably the most so out of all of them. While of course I can't really justify showing them here, there are a number of scenes in this DVD where she's being photographed without clothes. There are also making of scenes at the end where she's idling, waiting for the next shoot to happen in the same state of undress. The whole time she's there, it's as if she's just hanging around as normal. Of course, I don't expect a model who does this kind of work to be in a state of discomfort when they're making these, but she, unlike any other models I have yet seen, seems to be in such a relaxed state. It's like it comes naturally to her and makes little difference whether she has clothes or not. She also seems to be a person of few words. I don't know if it's a character she's putting on, but she is soft-spoken and rarely says anything. When she does say something, it's very little in a soft tone and spoken very slowly. The way I read it, I think it's a quirk of her character. But at the end of all of this, it seems like she really does genuinely enjoy the work that she does here, and that does contribute positively to the overall experience of the DVD. The DVD's structure itself is fairly straightforward. If you're not looking at it carefully enough, you may think of it as something similar to the DVDs included in the weekly Playboy magazines, but as I stated before, that's not the case. This isn't an ad for the photo book, it's supplemental material. A making of, but also a short gravure video. A little bit of both. I did notice that this video does become more like a gravure video towards the end, even having a short skit near the end, which at first made me afraid that it might launch into something more graphic. But thankfully didn't. The DVD jumps from scene to scene in a relatively quick pace, not lingering too long on any one scene, save for the idol scene, since that's sort of the namesake of the DVD and book after all. Something interesting about the presentation of the images here is that one thing someone with an eye for it might see is that this video is completely uncensored. This is a very rare thing in Japan since there are laws in place that prohibit the distribution of this sort of material uncensored. But since this accompanies an art book, where they probably decided to save some money, is that anything they thought might tip the hammer of the law was simply edited out. They show just enough to skirt the legal system, and it's pretty amazing they got away with it. This really straddles a very fine line, and I believe is notable for that, though maybe there are other videos by this publisher that do the same thing. Because of this decision to edit around the need to contract the services of a professional censor, a couple edits feel pretty shoehorned in and do feel a bit sudden, especially when you don't see them coming. But you gotta do what you gotta do. All that said, there are some shots in here that look pretty amazing. Of course, it's thanks to the lighting mostly, but I do think that some of the shots in here do feel like something appropriate for an art book. As I mentioned before, there are a couple of ads for Ogura Alice's then previous 2 photo books, where they show short making of videos for them as well. These are more along the lines of behind the scenes to help convince anyone who didn't pick up a copy of either of the previous ones to do so if they are interested. I already said everything I wanted to regarding this section, but I decided to mention it formally just so I can show you this scene. One of the interesting parts of the interview segment is that upon reflection of the making of Nude voice as a whole, when asked her favorite part of it, it was the singing part of the shoot. This was mostly because of the fact that during that part of the shoot, she felt like an idol, though when asked if she wanted to perform at Tokyo Dome, she said no way and said that doing that was too scary. But during that section of the shoot, she was actually singing a song, and surprisingly enough, it was a song that was written from the ground up for her to sing. This amazed me because she had apparently released a single not too long before the release of this book and DVD, and it's kind of being plugged here too. I went searching for it if I could find a copy of the song itself, and in a stroke of stupid, dumb luck, I found not only the song, but the music video for it as well. So now, I'll present to you a review of the song and music video For Friends by Ogura Alice. Musically, For Friends has an extremely dated intro. I understand that this style of early hip-hop was pretty popular in Japan around this time, but to my American ears, even for 2003, this intro sounds like it was ripped straight out of 1988. Weirdly enough though, this intro goes through phases for me. At first it's really off-putting because of how out of place it sounds, but when it sets in, it becomes charming when I'm reminded that this kind of stuff is sampled in a lot of Japanese pop songs of the time. After a while, however, it begins to wear out its welcome as I start to worry that it will remain for the duration of the song until it abruptly ends. Honestly, what follows is probably the best sleeper hit song of the century. I'm not kidding. I can't stop listening to this song. It is so much better than it has any right to be. First off, the vocals kick in with a melody that sticks mostly around the tonic, not straying too much away, while the instrumental conspicuously carries on without bass, giving the sensation that you're suspended by a thread. After the first part of the first verse finishes, a sweet synth bass line comes in and gives you that relief and momentum to last for the rest of the song. There's a modulation that would be a relative minor, but they decided to change it to a major key, which adds a surprising amount of color to the song. winding up to the chorus. Once the chorus hits, it soars, but not in an overly dramatic way, but in a relaxed way. The melody throughout this is extremely simple, and it's simple melodies that allow for greater color to happen in the instrumental underneath it. That's sort of the genius of this song. But what's happening musically only tells part of the story, as the vocal performance itself is really great. I didn't know Ogura Alice was able to sing like this. She is vocally understressed and sings within a very comfortable range for her, allowing her to give a performance similar to the way she talks. It's a little soft, but it has enough projection to give it a sense of power. The huge thing about this is that after listening to this countless times, I did not hear a single instance of pitch correction on her voice. Imperfections are present, but they add to the experience. Coupled with her vocal flourishes, as well as the vocals being hit hard with tons of reverb and a delay timed for the quarter note of the song, this gives off the perfect 2000s idol vibe that really, truly is lost in the modern era. Even in the quality of the synths during the solo before the final choruses, you can't tell me that that doesn't remind you of the Pokemon Coliseum soundtrack. Something that is a product of its time can definitely fall prey to that fact. But when it's done with such sincerity, eventually it can come back around and make itself timeless all over again. That's how I feel about this song. The more I listen to it, the more the little nuances come out and the better it gets. The music video itself is really the icing on the cake. We get some shots of her singing in 2 different studios at 2 different recording sessions, and shots of her outside as if she's modeling for a photo shoot. It's pretty unremarkable, but works as perfect background dressing for her performance. I actually really like her costumes in the recording studio sessions. I don't know why, but I reckon it's because that, once again, it reminds me of the limited 2000s Japanese fashion that I've seen. When I first found this DVD for 110 yen at Book Off, I had no idea the rabbit hole I would end up going down with it. But man, it was worth it. I know it might be a bit strange, but I'm an equal opportunity type of guy when it comes to stuff like this. I'll give anything a fair, unbiased shot no matter what it is. Maybe it'll be a worthwhile experience, maybe it'll be a dud, but when they hit in all the best ways, and this DVD meets the latter. Of course, it's thanks to the lighting mostly, but I do think that some of the shots in here do feel like something appropriate for an art book. I'm calling it an art book because that's the legal definition, but everybody knows them in Japan by their real name as Hair Nude. But if I put that in the script, it'll be in the subtitles. YouTube will pick up on that, and then it will age restrict the video. So, I know what it's actually called, trust me.
見てくれてありがとうございました。元気に頑張ります。これからも元気に頑張ります。同じこと言っちゃった。みんなも元気で頑張れてね。小倉アリスでした。バイバイ。